Guilt says I did something bad. Shame says I am something bad. One of them can save your life. The other one will destroy it. And most people can't tell the difference. You're carrying something right now, something you did, or something that was done to you, and it lives in a room inside your head, a room that you never let anyone in. You smile at work, you laugh when you're supposed to, you post shit on social media like everything's fine, and the whole time there's a voice underneath it all, underneath it whispering, if they knew the real you, they'd fucking leave. If they knew what you did, they'll be disgusted. You don't deserve to be here. And you've gotten so good at hiding it that nobody even suspects. The mask fits perfectly. You've worn it for so long, you almost forget that it's there. I know. Almost. Because at night, when the noise stops and you're alone with yourself, it comes off. And what's underneath it isn't pretty. It's the version of you that you're terrified someone will see. The version that remembers every failure, every lie, every moment you wish you could erase from existence. I can relate. And you think you're alone in this. You think nobody else walks around with that weight. You think everyone else is actually okay and you're the one faking it. Well, you're fucking wrong. You're not alone. Not even close. And what you're feeling has a name. It has two names. And knowing the difference between them might be the most important thing you learn today. Guilt and shame feel the same. They both live in the same space. They both live in your chest. They both keep you up at night. They both make you want to hide, but they are fundamentally different. Confusing them is what keeps people stuck for years. Here's the distinction. Guilt is about the behavior. Guilt says, I did a bad thing. It's focused on the action. You lied, you cheated, you hurt someone, you didn't show up when you were supposed to. Guilt points at what you did and says, that was wrong. Shame is about the identity. Shame says, I am a bad thing. It's not focused on the action. It's focused on you. It doesn't say you made a mistake. It says you are the mistake. It takes the thing you did and wields it into your identity. You didn't just lie. You are a liar. You didn't just fail. You are a failure. You didn't just hurt someone. You are someone that hurts people. That shift from what you did to who you are is the difference between a wound that heals and a wound that festers for years. Guilt, as painful as it can be productive. It can motivate change. It can push you to apologize, to do better, to make the right choices, make things right. Guilt says you did something that doesn't match who you want to be. Now fix it. Shame, on the other hand, shame is almost never productive. Shame doesn't motivate change. Shame motivates hiding, motivates isolation. Shame says you are fundamentally broken and nothing you do will ever fix that. Shame doesn't want you to be better. It wants you to disappear. A researcher named Brene Brown, I've seen her on YouTube, spent decades studying this. She found that guilt is correlated with positive behavioral change. People who feel guilty about what they did are more likely to make amends, to grow, to do better. Shame is correlated with addiction, depression, aggression, and suicide. People who feel shame about who they are, they don't get better. They get smaller. They withdraw. They self-medicate. They become suicidal. They give up. Same space, same sleepless nights. Completely different trajectories. Now let me show you how shame operates, because it doesn't just sit there. It runs on a cycle. And if you've ever been stuck in addiction, depression, self-destruction, you've lived this cycle, even if you didn't know it had a name. I can relate. Here's how it works. You do something you regret, right? Maybe you use, maybe you relapse, maybe you explode at someone at work, I do that all the time. Maybe you explode on someone you love. Maybe you break a promise. Maybe you spend another day not doing nothing when you swore today you were going to be productive. Guilt shows up. I did a bad thing. That's manageable. That's honest. That's productive. But when shame takes over, I am the bad person. I always do this. I'll never change. This is who I am. And shame is one of the most unbearable emotions a human being can feel. Your brain would do almost anything to escape it. So you numb it. You use, you drink, you scroll, you eat, you sleep, you do whatever makes the feeling of shame stop for 5 minutes. And then you wake up and you feel that shame about the numbing. So you numb the shame about the numbing. And then the cycle spins. It tightens. You shame, you numb. Shame about numbing, numb the shame, deeper shame, you use harder. You hate yourself more. That's not a character flaw. That's a psychological trap. Millions of people out there right now are caught in that flywheel right now. Not because they're weak, but because shame is one of the most powerful forces in the human mind. And nobody has ever taught them how to recognize it. Nobody has taught us how to recognize it. Here's the thing about shame. You weren't born with it either. Somebody installed shame in you. Shame is learned. Shame is taught, usually in childhood, usually by the people who are supposed to protect you and love you. When a child does something wrong and the parent says that was a bad choice, that's guilt. It's focused on the behavior. I did something bad and I can do better next time. The child's identity stays intact. When a child does something wrong and the parent says, "What is wrong with you? You're stupid. You're worthless. Why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be like your sister?" That's shame, and it's focused on the child's identity. The child doesn't learn, "I made a mistake." The child learns, "I am the mistake." And that message, "I am the problem," gets wired into the brain during the most crucial and informative years of development, before the child has the capacity to evaluate it, before he can form a thought of what he did, before he can say, "Wait, that's not fair," before they can defend themselves against the people they depend on for survival. The shame becomes part of their operating system. It runs in the background for years, for decades, sometimes your whole fucking lifetime. It drives your decisions, relationships. It drives the mask that you put on. Because if you believe at your core that you are defective, that there's something fundamentally wrong with you, then the only way to survive socially is to make sure nobody fucking finds out. So you build the mask and you put it on. You perform. You become whoever the room needs you to be at that moment. You become an expert at being fine. And underneath the mask, the shame sits, untouched, unchallenged, growing, festering. Let me talk about the mask for a minute, because this is where the guilt and the shame connect to the real world experience of pretending to be okay. The mask is the performance. It's the version of you the world sees. It's the version of you that you give the world. The one that smiles, the one that laughs, shows up to work, answers, "I'm good, I'm fine," when someone's asking you how you doing at work. We all say we're fine, we're fucking lying. And behind the mask is whatever you're actually feeling. The depression, the anxiety, the grief, the rage, the emptiness, the pain, the sorrow, the shame. Now, everybody wears a mask sometimes. That's normal. You don't have to spill your life story on the cashier at Walmart, right? Social masks are part of being human. But there's a difference between wearing a mask occasionally and living behind one permanently. When the mask becomes your default, when you can't take the mask off, when you've forgotten how to take it off because you've worn it for so long, when you're not even sure what your real face looks like anymore, that's when it gets dangerous, because a mask doesn't just hide you from other people. Over time, it hides you from yourself. There's a clinical term for this. It's called depersonalization. It's when you lose contact with who you actually are. You've been wearing a mask for so long. When your identity becomes the performance. When you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back at you. Not because of how you look, but because you have no idea who's actually in there anymore. High functioning depression lives behind the mask. Smiling depression lives behind the mask. The person who seems to have it all together, but is dying inside, that's the mask doing its job perfectly. Robin Williams, for example. Robin Williams, the funniest man in any room, the life of the party back then anyway. He was fighting a war no one could see. And when he committed suicide, everyone said, I had no idea. That's what the mask does. It works so well that the people closest to you can't see the truth. And that isolation, being surrounded by people who only know the performance, makes the shame even worse. Because now you're not just hiding, you're proving to yourself that no one knows the real you, which means no one actually loves you. At least that's what you think. And they love the mask. They don't love you. And the shame whispers, see, if they knew who you really were, they wouldn't be here. They'd fucking bounce. We've all been there. Every person watching this right now has said, I'm fine, when they weren't. Every person watching this right now has laughed at a joke when inside they felt nothing. Every person watching this has gone home and collapsed, not from exhaustion, but from the weight of pretending, the weight of wearing the mask. We've all carried things we think we can never say out loud. Things we did, things that happened to us, thoughts we've had that we think makes us monsters. And we've all believed the lie that we're the only ones too, that everybody else has figured it out, that the mask that I'm wearing is thicker than anyone else. It's not. Everyone's carrying something. The person sitting next to you at work, they're wearing a mask too. The friend who always seems to be happy-go-lucky, mask. The person who gets motivational quotes off of Instagram, mask. The difference isn't who has pain and who doesn't. The difference is who's willing to talk about it and who's going to let shame keep them silent until it destroys them. I wore the mask for many years. I was a professional at it. I could walk into a room and be whatever that room needed me to be. Funny, tough, charming, unbothered. I could perform flawlessly if I needed to. But behind the mask was shame. So heavy I couldn't even breathe under it. Things I couldn't undo. People I'd hurt. Time I've wasted. Lives I've damaged, including my own. And every time I look in the mirror, the shame didn't point at what I did. It pointed at who I was. And it said, you are this. You will always be this. And no amount of change will ever clean you. And I believed it for years. I believed it. I believed the mask. I thought the mask was permanent. I thought the real me was something the world could never handle. And then one day I stopped hiding. Not because I was brave, because I was exhausted. The performance was killing me faster than any other drug I've ever done. And I discovered something that shame doesn't want you to know. First, learn to tell the difference. When the voice starts up in your head, ask yourself one question. Is it talking about what I did, or is it pointing at me of who I am? If it's pointing at you, if it's pointing at the behavior that you shouldn't have done that, that's guilt. That's useful. That's information. Listen to it. Let it push you to do better. Make amends if you can. Change the behavior. Guilt is the pain that leads you to grow. If it's pointing at your identity, I'm broken, I'm worthless, I'm beyond repair, that's shame. And that shame is a liar. Shame doesn't want to fix anything. Shame wants you to give up. Don't listen to it. Don't obey it. Don't let it drive your decisions. Second, shame dies in the daylight. This is the most important thing I can tell you in this whole video. Shame survives in secrecy. It feeds on isolation. It gets stronger every day. You keep it locked inside. You keep it locked in the dark. The moment you say it out loud to whoever, to someone safe, to a therapist, to your parents, to a journal, to a camera, the shame loses power. Not all of it, not at once, but every time you expose it, it gets weaker. Every time you let someone see the real version of you, the one behind the mask, and don't run away, that's shame taking a hit it can't recover from. Third, take the mask off. Not all at once, not with everyone, but start somewhere. Start with one person, one honest conversation, one moment where you say the thing you've been hiding instead of performing, the thing you think they want to hear. Don't say that. It's going to feel like you're dying. I'm not going to lie to you. The first time you let someone see what's behind the mask, every alarm in your body and your head is going to go off. Your brain's going to be screaming that you just made a fatal mistake. But the thing about alarm systems, sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes the thing that feels the most dangerous is actually the thing that saves you. So here's what I need you to hear, not want. Guilt says you did something bad. Good, you probably did. Use it. Let it make you better. Shame says you are something bad, and that's a fucking lie. It's a powerful lie, an old lie, a lie that probably installed before you can defend yourself against it. Probably when you were a kid. You are not your worst moment. You are not the things you did in the past. You are the version of yourself. You are not the version of yourself that shame has been replaying on a loop in your head for years. You are the person who survived all that shit and is still here watching this video, still fighting, still searching for something better. That person is not broken. That person is not beyond repair. That person is carrying shame that doesn't belong to them anymore, and it's time to put it down. Take the mask off, even if your hands are shaking, even if it's just a crack, even if it's just for tonight, just for one person, just for 5 minutes, because the real you, the one hiding behind the mask, that's the version the world needs, not the performance. If this is the first time someone has explained the difference between shame and guilt, then hit subscribe. I put out videos every week. Videos about shit other people are ashamed to talk about. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know the difference between guilt and shame my whole life. I thought they were the same fucking thing, and they are totally not. And taking off the mask and letting the shame out is incredibly difficult, but it is freeing. It will take a big weight off your chest. I promise you that. So anyway, guys, if you're going to use tonight, don't be alone. If you're going to drink tonight, please don't drive. And this is Get Up and Fight Back, Richie Rich. I don't know which one I'm going to drop next. I'll pick it. If you got an idea for a video, put it in the comment. I read the comments. So much love. I'll check you out in the next one. Peace.